Maya Chen had been staring at her laptop screen for the past 3 hours on the flight to Chicago. The quarterly reports weren't going to review themselves, and tomorrow's presentation needed to be perfect. At 32, she'd worked too hard to let anything slip now. 8 years with the company, countless late nights, and she'd finally made it to director level. Nothing was going to mess that up. The plane touched down just as the winter storm warning started flashing on her phone. Great. Just what she needed. She grabbed her carry-on and headed straight for the hotel shuttle, already mentally rehearsing her opening lines for tomorrow's conference. The Grand Harbor Hotel lobby was chaos when she walked in. People everywhere, raised voices at the front desk, and that distinct feeling of something having gone terribly wrong. Maya's stomach dropped. She'd stayed at enough hotels to know this scene meant trouble. She waited in line for 20 minutes before finally reaching the counter. The front desk manager looked like she'd aged 10 years in the past hour. Her name tag read Jennifer, and she looked ready to cry. "Welcome to Grand Harbor. Name, please." Jennifer's smile was practiced but strained. "Maya Chen. I have a reservation for tonight through Wednesday." Jennifer's fingers flew across the keyboard, then stopped. Then started again. Then stopped. That was never a good sign. "Miss Chen, I'm so sorry, but we have a situation. The storm caused massive flight cancellations, and we've had to accommodate more guests than expected. Unfortunately, our system made an error in room assignments." Maya felt her jaw clench. "What kind of error?" "We've placed you in a shared accommodation. It's our last available room, and I'm afraid every hotel in the area is completely booked due to the weather emergency." "Shared? I booked a single room 3 months ago." "I understand, and we're offering a full refund plus accommodation credits. But the situation is beyond our control. The storm has made it impossible to find alternatives tonight." Before Maya could argue further, a British accent cut through the noise behind her. "Excuse me, I believe there's been a mistake with my reservation as well." She turned to see a tall man in a dark overcoat wheeling a small suitcase. He looked tired, like he'd been traveling for hours. There was something familiar about him. "James Mitchell?" Maya blinked in recognition. "Maya." He looked equally surprised. "What are you doing here?" "The conference." "You're here for the conference too?" "Of course." "Wait, they didn't put us in the same room, did they?" James looked at Jennifer with growing alarm. Jennifer checked her screen and winced. "I'm afraid so. Room 847. It's a king suite, our best available accommodation under the circumstances." Maya's mind raced. James Mitchell. London office. They'd worked together on 3 major campaigns over the past 2 years, all remotely. She'd met him exactly twice in person at company events. Their last video call 6 months ago had ended in a heated argument over marketing strategy. She'd called his approach outdated. He'd called hers reckless. Neither had apologized, and now they were supposed to share a room. "This can't be happening," Maya muttered. James pulled out his phone. "There has to be another option." "What about the airport hotels?" Jennifer shook her head. "Sir, I've been calling every hotel within 50 miles for the past 2 hours. Everything is booked solid. The storm has shut down 2 highways and people are stranded everywhere. This is the best I can offer." Maya looked out the lobby windows. Snow was falling so thick she could barely see the parking lot. The TV in the corner showed red weather alerts scrolling across the bottom of the screen. James followed her gaze and sighed. "How bad is the storm supposed to get?" "They're calling it the worst February blizzard in 15 years, Jennifer said quietly. "The conference starts at 7 tomorrow morning, doesn't it?" Maya and James exchanged glances. Missing the opening presentations wasn't an option. Maya was scheduled to present at 9. "James at 10:30. "Fine," Maya said through gritted teeth. "We'll make it work." "One night?" "Just one night," James agreed, though he didn't look happy about it. Jennifer handed them 2 key cards with visible relief. "Thank you both for being understanding. Again, I'm deeply sorry for this situation." The elevator ride to the 8th floor was silent and awkward. Maya stood on one side, James on the other, both staring at the digital floor numbers like they were the most fascinating thing in the world. When they reached room 847, James swiped the key card and pushed the door open. The room was nice, Maya had to admit. Big windows with a city view, a work desk, a comfortable sitting area. And right in the center, impossible to ignore, one very large bed, just one bed. Maya dropped her bag by the door. "Okay, let's establish some ground rules." "Agreed." James set his suitcase by the closet. "I can sleep on the floor. Don't be ridiculous. It's February in Chicago. The floor will be freezing. Then what do you suggest? Maya grabbed all 4 decorative pillows from the bed and a spare blanket from the closet. She laid them down the center of the mattress in a straight line. Pillow wall. You stay on your side, I stay on mine. We're both adults. We can handle this professionally. Right, professionally. James loosened his tie, looking uncomfortable. What about the bathroom situation? I'll shower first, you shower second. We'll coordinate getting ready in the morning. And we both stay fully dressed. No walking around in underwear or anything weird? Obviously, James said, his ears turning slightly red. I wasn't planning on it. Good, lights out by 11. We both need sleep before tomorrow. Fine by me. Maya grabbed her toiletry bag and disappeared into the bathroom, locking the door firmly behind her. She leaned against the sink and closed her eyes. This was fine. Everything was fine. It was just one night. They were colleagues. This didn't have to be weird unless they made it weird. By the time she came out 20 minutes later, dressed in modest pajama pants and a long-sleeved t-shirt, James was sitting in the desk chair working on his laptop. He'd removed his jacket and tie, rolled up his sleeves, but was otherwise still fully dressed. Bathroom's yours, Maya said, settling onto her side of the bed with her own laptop. James nodded and gathered his things. The shower ran for 15 minutes. When he emerged, he was wearing track pants and a plain gray t-shirt, his hair still damp. He smelled like hotel soap and mint toothpaste. Maya tried not to notice. They both worked in silence for the next hour, Maya on her side of the pillow wall, James on his. The only sounds were keyboard clicks and the howling wind outside. The storm was getting worse, snow pelting against the windows. Around 9:30, Maya's stomach growled loudly. She'd been too stressed to eat on the plane. James glanced over. Hungry? A little. Room service? Sure, they ordered burgers and fries, keeping it simple. When the food arrived, they cleared a space on the bed between them, pushing the pillow wall back slightly to fit the tray. It felt strange eating dinner together in bed like this, but also somehow normal, like they'd done it 100 times before. So, James said, taking a bite of his burger, how's the marketing department been since we last talked? Busy. The rebrand project took up most of January. You? Same. London office has been pushing hard on the European expansion. Long hours. When do you go back? Friday morning. Early flight. He paused. How's your... I heard you went through a breakup recently. I hope I'm not overstepping by mentioning it. Maya was surprised he knew about that. Office gossip traveled fast, apparently. It's fine. It was 3 months ago. We'd been together 3 years, but it wasn't working anymore. Sometimes things just run their course. I'm sorry. That must have been difficult. It was. But I'm okay now, mostly. She changed the subject quickly. How's your fiancé? Lisa, right? Rachel, James corrected quietly. She's fine. Busy with work. She's a solicitor, works insane hours. Wedding plans going well? We've actually postponed. Twice now. Work keeps getting in the way for both of us. Something in his tone made Maya look up. There was tension in his jaw, a tightness around his eyes. She recognized that look. She'd seen it in her own mirror 3 months ago, right before everything fell apart with her ex. But it wasn't her business. They were colleagues, not friends. Whatever was happening in James's personal life was his own concern. They finished eating and pushed the tray onto the desk. The pillow wall went back up, though maybe not quite as high as before. Both returned to their laptops, working on tomorrow's presentations. Around 10:30, James suddenly spoke. Can I ask you something about my presentation? Get your opinion? Maya hesitated. Their last collaboration hadn't gone well, but they were stuck here together and maybe it was time to move past old arguments. Sure. He moved closer, laptop balanced on his knees, and showed her his slides. They were good. Really good, actually. His data analysis was sharp, his conclusions solid. This part here, Maya pointed to slide 7. You could strengthen this transition, link it back to the consumer behavior data from Q3. James nodded, making notes. That's good. What about the closing? They worked through his presentation together, then hers. Somewhere in the process, the pillow wall got pushed aside completely. They were sitting shoulder to shoulder now, focused on the work, falling into an easy rhythm of collaboration. It was almost 11 when they finally closed their laptops. Thanks, James said. That actually helped a lot. Your presentation is solid. You'll do great tomorrow. Yours too. The campy. Maya couldn't sleep. She'd been lying there for 30 minutes, listening to the wind howl and trying not to think about how strange the situation was. James hadn't moved much either. She could tell from his breathing that he was awake too. The silence stretched on until it became almost unbearable. Are you awake? James's voice was soft in the darkness. Yeah. Can't sleep either? No. Too much on my mind about tomorrow, I guess. Same here. He shifted slightly. Can I admit something? I'm actually nervous about my presentation. That surprised her. James always seemed so confident, almost annoyingly so. Really? You never seem nervous about anything. That's just what I show people. Inside, I'm usually terrified I'm going to mess everything up. Maya found herself smiling in the dark. I know that feeling. Everyone thinks I have it all together, but most days I'm just faking it and hoping nobody notices. You're good at your job, though. I've seen your work. Even when we disagreed about strategy, I respected how you thought through problems. Thanks. That means a lot, actually. I thought you just saw me as some reckless kid who didn't understand business. No. James's voice was thoughtful. I saw someone who wasn't afraid to take risks. I envied that. I'm usually too cautious. They fell quiet again, but this time it felt different. Less awkward. More comfortable. Can I ask you something? Maya said. Why did you really move to London? I heard different stories from different people. James was quiet for so long she thought maybe he'd fallen asleep. Then he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Rachel got transferred there for work. Big promotion, amazing opportunity. She wanted me to come with her. And I said yes because that's what you're supposed to do when you love someone, right? You make sacrifices. Do you regret it? I don't know. London's fine. The job is good. But I miss New York. I miss my friends, my apartment in Brooklyn, my favorite coffee shop. I miss feeling like I was living my own life instead of supporting someone else's. Maya understood that feeling all too well. Her ex had wanted her to turn down her promotion 2 years ago. Said it would make her work too much, leave no time for them. She'd taken the promotion anyway, and things had never been the same after that. Is that why you postponed the wedding? She asked gently. Partly. We keep saying it's because we're too busy, but honestly, I think we both know something isn't right. We just don't want to admit it. That's hard. Being in something that doesn't feel right anymore but not knowing how to get out. Is that how it was with your ex? Yeah, for the last year at least. We were staying together out of habit more than anything else. When we finally ended it, my biggest feeling was relief. I felt guilty about that for weeks. You shouldn't feel guilty for being honest with yourself. Neither should you. They lay there in the darkness, the intimacy of these confessions hanging between them. Maya realized she'd never talked to James like this before. She'd never really known him beyond work emails and video calls. Now lying in the dark, sharing truths they probably wouldn't admit in daylight, he felt like a completely different person. Why did you really get into marketing? James asked, changing the subject slightly. My dad ran a small business when I was growing up. He was brilliant with products but terrible at marketing. He kept pouring money into the wrong strategies, listening to the wrong people. Eventually the business failed. He lost everything. I watched him go from this confident, successful man to someone who couldn't look at himself in the mirror. I'm sorry. That must have been difficult to witness. It was. But it taught me something. Good products aren't enough. You need to know how to reach people, how to tell the right story. That's why I care so much about getting it right. It's not just numbers and campaigns to me. It's people's lives, their dreams. I never knew that about you. That makes a lot of sense now, why you fight so hard for your ideas. What about you? Why marketing? James laughed softly.
Honestly?
I fell into it by accident. I studied economics in university, thought I'd go into finance, took one marketing class as an elective and loved it. The psychology of it, understanding what makes people choose one thing over another, it felt like solving puzzles. That's actually pretty cool. My father hated it. He's a banker, very traditional. Thought marketing was fluff, not a real career. We didn't speak for 2 years after I took my first job in advertising. Do you talk now? Occasionally. It's better, but there's always this distance between us. Like he's still disappointed. That must hurt. It does. More than I usually admit. The conversation flowed easier now, moving from topic to topic. They talked about their childhoods, their families, embarrassing moments from college. James told her about the time he accidentally sent a love email meant for his girlfriend to his entire company. Maya shared the story of showing up to her first day of work with coffee spilled all down her white blouse. Hours passed without them realizing it. The snow kept falling outside, creating a strange sense of being cut off from the rest of the world. Just the two of them in this room, in this bubble, sharing pieces of themselves they usually kept hidden. Around 2 in the morning, Maya shivered. The heating was struggling against the storm, and the room had gotten noticeably colder. "Are you cold?" James asked, a little. "The heat doesn't seem to be keeping up with the weather. I can call the front desk." "No, it's fine. I don't want to bother them. They've had a rough night already." She heard James move in the darkness, then felt him shift closer, not touching, but near enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "This okay?" he asked quietly. Maya knew she should say no. Knew this was crossing some invisible line, but she was cold and he was warm. And nothing about this night felt normal anyway. "Yeah, it's okay." They lay there closer now, the space between them measured in inches instead of feet. Maya was acutely aware of every breath he took, every small movement. Her heart was beating faster than it should. "Maya?" James's voice was soft. "Yeah? I'm glad it was you. In the room, I mean. If I had to share with someone from work, I'm glad it was you." "Me too," she admitted. His hand found hers under the blanket, not grabbing, just resting there, fingertips barely touching. Neither of them pulled away. They didn't talk anymore after that. Just lay there in the darkness, hands touching, both pretending they were about to fall asleep. But neither of them slept. They just existed in that moment, feeling something they probably shouldn't feel, aware that morning would come and everything would go back to normal. But for now, in this strange suspended reality created by a snowstorm and a booking error, nothing felt normal at all, and maybe that was okay. Morning came too soon. Maya's alarm went off at 6, shattering whatever spell the night had cast. She opened her eyes to find herself facing James, their hands still loosely connected under the covers. In the pale morning light filtering through the curtains, she could see his face clearly for the first time since they'd turned off the lights. He was already awake, watching her. They both pulled their hands away at the same time, the reality of daylight making everything suddenly awkward again. "Morning," James said, his voice rough from lack of sleep. "Morning." Maya sat up quickly, running her hands through her hair. "I should get ready. Presentation is in 3 hours. Right. Yes. Of course." She grabbed her clothes and practically ran to the bathroom, closing the door and leaning against it. What was she doing? This was James, her colleague. A man who was engaged to someone else. They'd just spent the night holding hands and sharing secrets like teenagers. She needed to get her head straight. The shower helped. By the time she emerged, dressed professionally in her best suit, makeup perfect, she'd rebuilt all her usual walls. Work Maya was back in place. Professional, focused, in control. James took his turn in the bathroom while she organized her presentation materials. When he came out, he was back to looking like the colleague she knew from video calls. Suit and tie, hair combed back, that professional distance back in his eyes. They gathered their things in silence and headed down to breakfast. The hotel restaurant was packed with conference attendees. Maya immediately spotted her team leader David waving them over to a table. "Maya, James, good to see you both made it through the storm. Crazy night, wasn't it?" "Definitely crazy," Maya agreed, taking a seat across from James rather than next to him. She needed space. Throughout breakfast, they barely looked at each other. When they did speak, it was purely about work. Presentation timing, client expectations, quarterly goals, safe topics, professional topics. By 7:30, they were in the main conference hall with 300 other employees. Maya found a seat near the front. James sat somewhere in the middle. The night before might as well have never happened. The morning sessions dragged on. Executive speeches, strategy updates, team recognitions. Maya tried to focus but kept finding her attention drifting. She'd glance around the room and accidentally make eye contact with James, then quickly look away. When 9 o'clock finally arrived, she walked to the stage with steady confidence. She'd done this dozens of times before. This was her element. Her presentation went perfectly. The data was solid, her delivery smooth, her conclusions compelling. She answered questions with ease, making the executives nod appreciatively. As she returned to her seat, she caught James giving her a small smile and thumbs up from across the room. That small gesture made her heart do something complicated. James's presentation was at 10:30. Maya watched him take the stage, professional and polished. But she could see the small things others probably missed. The way he rolled his shoulders before starting, the slight tension in his jaw. She knew he was nervous now. She also knew he'd be brilliant, and he was. His analysis of the London market was insightful, his projections backed by solid research. He spoke with authority but also humility, admitting unknowns while explaining his strategic thinking. It was impressive. When he finished, Maya found herself clapping harder than anyone else around her. Lunch break came at noon. Maya headed to the buffet line, filling her plate and looking for a quiet corner to eat alone. She needed to think, to process everything that had happened in the past 16 hours. But James found her anyway. Mind if I sit? She should say yes, she minded. She should maintain distance. Instead, she gestured to the empty chair across from her. You were great up there, he said. Your presentation was exactly what they needed to hear. Thanks. Yours too. The London data was fascinating. Look, about last night, James started, then stopped. I'm not sure what to say about it. Maybe we don't say anything. It was late, we were tired, we talked. That's all. Is that really all it was? Maya set down her fork. Around them, dozens of colleagues were eating, talking, laughing. This was not the place for this conversation. James, you're engaged. I just got out of a relationship. We work together. Nothing about this situation is simple or smart. I know that. But I can't just pretend I didn't feel something last night. Can you? She couldn't, that was the problem. She'd felt it too. That connection, that understanding, that pull toward him that had nothing to do with logic or good sense. What do you want me to say? That I felt it too? Fine, I did. But feelings don't change facts. You have a whole life waiting for you in London. And I have a career I've worked too hard for to complicate with office romance. You're right. You're absolutely right. James looked down at his plate. I just needed to hear you say it out loud, I think. They finished lunch in uncomfortable silence. When the afternoon session started, Maya made sure to sit on the opposite side of the conference hall from James. The rest of the day was torture. Every presentation felt endless. Every networking break meant carefully avoiding each other while appearing normal to everyone else. By the time the closing session ended at 5, Maya was exhausted from more than just lack of sleep. She headed back to her hotel room, the room she'd been reassigned to that morning. A proper single room all to herself. It felt empty and lonely in a way hotel rooms usually didn't. She changed into comfortable clothes and ordered room service, planning to spend the evening preparing for tomorrow's workshops. But she couldn't focus. Her mind kept drifting back to the night before, to lying in the dark talking with James, to the way his hand had felt holding hers, to the look in his eyes that morning when she woke up. Around 7, there was a knock on her door. She looked through the peephole and saw James standing there, still in his suit but with his tie loosened and his jacket over his arm. She shouldn't open the door. She knew that, but she did anyway. Hi, he said, hi. Can we talk? Really talk? Not surrounded by hundreds of people? Maya hesitated, every logical part of her brain screaming that this was a bad idea. But she stepped back and let him in anyway. James walked to the window, looking out at the city. The storm had passed, leaving everything covered in fresh white snow. It looked peaceful out there. Inside this room felt like anything but. I called Rachel this afternoon, he said quietly. Had a long conversation during the break. Maya's heart dropped. Oh? I told her we needed to talk honestly about us, about whether we're still working as a couple. He turned to face her. It wasn't because of last night, not really. It's been building for months, but last night made me realize I couldn't keep avoiding the conversation. What did she say? She admitted she's been feeling the same way. We've been holding on because we're scared to start over, not because we're actually happy together. We're going to have another conversation when I get back to London, a serious one about whether we should still be engaged. Maya didn't know what to say to that. Part of her felt relieved. Part of her felt terrible for being relieved. I'm not telling you this because I expect anything, James continued. I just needed you to know. Last night meant something to me. You meant something to me. I needed to be honest about that. James, you don't have to say anything. I know it's complicated. I know we work together, I know you just ended a relationship and probably aren't looking for anything new. I just couldn't leave the conference without being honest about how I feel. Maya looked at him, really looked at him. This man she'd worked with for 2 years but never really known until one strange night forced them together. She could feel herself standing at a crossroads, about to make a choice that would change things no matter which direction she went. I feel something too, she admitted quietly. I'm terrified of it, but I feel it. So what do we do? Nothing. Not yet? Maya took a breath. You need to figure out your life in London. Really figure it out, not just because of me. And I need to figure out who I am outside of a relationship. I've been someone's girlfriend since I was 23. I need to know who Maya is on her own. James nodded slowly. That's probably wise. But maybe, she continued, surprised at her own words, maybe once you've had that conversation with Rachel, once you know where you stand, and once I've had some time to work on myself, maybe we could talk again, actually see if this thing between us is real or just circumstance. I'd like that. James managed a small smile. You're better at being sensible than I am. Someone has to be. He moved toward the door, then stopped. Turned back. For a moment, Maya thought he might kiss her. Part of her wanted him to, but instead he just reached out and squeezed her hand once. Quickly, take care of yourself, Maya Chen. You too, James Mitchell. And then he was gone, and Maya was alone in her hotel room, wondering if she'd just made the smartest decision of her life or the most cowardly. 3 months passed. 3 long, strange months where Maya threw herself into work while simultaneously trying to figure out who she was outside of her job. She started therapy. That was new. She'd always thought therapy was for people with serious problems, not someone who just needed to process a breakup and some confusing feelings about a colleague. But her first session taught her otherwise. She had patterns, her therapist explained gently, patterns of defining herself through work and relationships, never leaving space for just herself. So Maya started trying new things, small things at first. She joined a pottery class on Tuesday evenings. Turned out she was terrible at pottery, but she enjoyed it anyway. She started going to museums alone on Saturday mornings, something her ex had always found boring. She discovered she loved it. She had dinner with friends she'd been neglecting, started reading again, fiction instead of business books, went to concerts, took long walks through the city without her phone, just looking at things, and slowly, gradually, she started feeling different, lighter somehow, more like herself, whoever that was turning out to be. Work continued as normal. She led her team through a successful campaign launch, got praise from the executives, even received a bonus, but somehow the validation didn't hit the same way it used to. It was nice, sure, but it wasn't everything anymore. She didn't hear from James, not directly. She'd see his name on company emails sometimes, his contributions to shared projects. Once, they were both on a video call with 15 other people, and they'd exchanged polite hellos but nothing more. She wondered about him often, wondered if he'd had that conversation with Rachel, wondered what happened, but she didn't reach out. She'd meant what she said that night. They both needed to figure out their own lives first. Then one Tuesday in late May, she got an email. The subject line was simple: an update. Maya stared at it for a full minute before opening it. Dear Maya, it began, and she could hear his voice reading the words. I hope this email finds you well. I've thought about reaching out many times over the past few months, but wanted to respect the space we both agreed we needed. I wanted to let you know what's happened on my end. Rachel and I ended our engagement. It was mutual and, honestly, overdue by about a year. We both knew it, we just didn't want to face it. That conversation we had when I got back from Chicago opened up everything we'd been avoiding. In the end, we realized we'd become more like roommates than partners. We cared about each other but weren't in love anymore. I've moved back to New York. The company approved my transfer request, and I started in the Manhattan office 3 weeks ago. It wasn't because of you, not entirely, but that night in Chicago made me realize I'd been living someone else's life for too long. I needed to come back to the place that felt like home. I've been doing a lot of thinking these past months about who I am, what I want, what kind of life I want to build. I've started seeing a counselor to work through some things about my relationship with my father and why I have such a hard time knowing what I actually want versus what I think I should want. I don't know where you are in your own journey. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're taking care of yourself. I'm not reaching out to pressure you for anything. I just wanted you to know that you changed something in me that night. You made me want to be honest again with myself and others, so thank you for that. If you ever want to talk, I'm around. If you don't, I understand that too. Take care, James. Maya read the email 3 times. Her heart was doing complicated things in her chest. He was in New York. He'd ended his engagement. He'd been working on himself just like she had. She closed her laptop without responding. She needed to think about this. That evening in her pottery class, she could barely focus. Her clay kept collapsing no matter what she did. Her instructor, a patient woman named Linda, finally sat down next to her. Something on your mind? Maybe, Maya admitted. There's this person. We had this moment 3 months ago. Nothing really happened, but also everything happened, and now he's reached out and I don't know what to do about it. Linda smiled knowingly. What does your gut tell you? My gut says I want to see him. But my brain says it's complicated. We work together. I just got out of a relationship. I'm still figuring myself out. You know what I've learned in 63 years? Linda said. You're never going to have it all figured out. If you wait until everything is perfect and simple and risk-free, you'll wait forever. Sometimes you just have to be brave enough to try. That night, Maya sat at her laptop for an hour, typing and deleting, typing and deleting. Finally, she kept it simple. James, thank you for your email. I'm glad you found the courage to have that conversation with Rachel, and to make the choice to come back to New York. Those must have been difficult decisions. I've been on my own journey these past months, too. Therapy, pottery classes, a lot of time spent figuring out who Maya is when she's not trying to be what someone else needs. It's been harder than I expected, but also good. I'm not sure I'm ready for anything serious or complicated, but I think I'd like to see you. Maybe we could get coffee? No expectations, no pressure. Just 2 people catching up and seeing if that connection from one strange night in Chicago was real, or just the circumstances. If you're interested, there's a coffee shop near Central Park that I've become fond of. They have great lattes and a peaceful atmosphere. Let me know. Take care of yourself, Maya. She hit send before she could overthink it. His response came 2 hours later. Just one line, I'd really like that. When? They agreed on Saturday afternoon. Maya changed her outfit 3 times that morning, annoyed at herself for caring so much. This wasn't a date. This was just coffee. Just 2 colleagues catching up. She arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early and immediately regretted it. Now she had to sit there being nervous. She ordered her latte and found a table by the window, watching people walk by in the spring sunshine. Then James walked in, and her heart did that complicated thing again. He looked different. Same face, same height, same walk, but something had changed. He seemed more settled somehow, more comfortable in his own skin. He spotted her and smiled, and Maya found herself smiling back without thinking about it. Hi, he said, sitting down across from her. Hi. You look good, healthy. Thanks. So do you. They both laughed at the awkwardness of it. Okay, this is weird, James admitted. I've been thinking about what to say for 3 days, and now my mind is completely blank. Same. I rehearsed like 5 different opening lines, and they all sounded stupid. Should we just jump past the awkward part and pretend we're already comfortable? Yes, please. The tension broke. They ordered more coffee and started talking, really talking, about the past 3 months, about what they'd learned, about the work they'd been doing on themselves. James told her about his counseling sessions, about realizing he'd been making life choices based on what he thought he should want, rather than what he actually wanted, about learning to disappoint people sometimes and be okay with it.